I'd like to call to order the Sparks City Council meeting of 5/14/2018 with the roll call, please.
Mayor Martini?
Wow, I'm here. It's great to be back, believe me.
Council members Abbott?
Here.
Lawson?
Here.
Smith?
Here.
Bybee? Here. Dare?
Here.
City Attorney Adams?
Here.
City Manager Driscoll?
Here.
We have a quorum, thank you.
Okay, now we have invocation speaker Pastor Pete Bossler from the Crosswinds Assembly of God. If you'd all please stand. Welcome, Pastor. How are you?
I'm doing well. You look good.
I can't stand, but I'll,
Hey, that's all right, man. I'll pray for you.
please do.
Lord, we thank you that you hear us when we come to you in humble processes. We pray for our mayor, that you would just touch his body, heal him, continue to give him strength. And now we ask for divine wisdom. You said if anyone lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives generously without finding fault. And you'll give it to us. And so for the sacred desk of all the great people behind me, I pray that they would have great wisdom today. That you continue to protect our city. Continue to bring great things to the city of Sparks. For we only have good things ahead of us, and we give you thanks. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor, for those kind words. If you'd all remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Landslide, would you lead us, please?
Yes. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I gotta figure out how to turn my phone down, because I know if I don't, Ron Smith will call me.
On purpose, too.
Yeah, on purpose, yes, of course. Okay, next we have public comment. If you want to make public comment, please fill out one of these cards with the clerk, and she'll get you up for public comment for 3 minutes. So first I have anonymous. You know, the more things change, the more things stay the same.
Not showing on the TV.
She'll be over there in a second.
I don't need it now. What's the scoop?
I guess that's the best we're going to do. I'm speaking anonymously because we survivors of domestic violence have threats on our life. I'll pick up where I left off. We were speaking about Judge Chuck Weller, the family division judge who calls us survivors of domestic violence. We're only needed in the bedroom and the kitchen. And although that's not a crime, he has acted out on his biases and prejudices, and NRS 1 forbids him to do that. We have investigated Chuck Weller, and we do understand that he married Rose Lichtenheim, and she started a domestic violence shelter here in Reno in the late 80s. So it may be that there are issues at home that we don't know about. So the Chief of Police of Sparks gave us is listed in the report, so of the investigation by the state in the complaint against Chuck Weller. So he knows about Judge Flanagan and Chuck Weller having a discussion, conspiring against us survivors of domestic violence. Steve Martinez is the FBI agent who sat on the State of Nevada Attorney General's board. And he, the one on the left, he was the FBI agent that was responsible for these judges who have biases and prejudices and rule against us survivors of domestic violence. The next FBI agent was Kevin Favreau. Seen there, he was, his first day on the job as the FBI special agent in charge in Nevada. There was a shootout at the courthouse his first day of the job. Laura Bucket was the next FBI agent that would not investigate the judge's claims, even though that fell in their purview. There's a public integrity unit with the FBI, and all of these agents have good funding, good resources to investigate these judges. The Steve Martinez is, okay.
Thank you, Anonymous.
Good to see you, Mayor.
Good to be seen, thank you. Next is Betty Ibarra. Welcome, Betty.
Hello, neighbor.
How are you, dear?
I said, hello, neighbor.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. I'm here concerning the changes that are wanting to be made in the 55-plus community of Tuscana. Those are the rules, regulations that I purchased my home under. And for a good many years, those rules and regulations were followed, as our mayor well knows, because he had to move out because he married and had teenagers, which are not allowed in this 55-plus community. They've removed a lot of trees in the community, which is against the rules and regulations, and they're wanting to change the PDUs to cover their heinies and not have to put those trees back in. We as a community overall do not want those rules changed. Thank you.
Thanks, Betty, but I don't know that that's the city didn't take the trees out. And
No, the city did not, some of the homeowners.
And that's an issue with the homeowners association itself. is
The
it not,
homeowners
Mr.
won't
Manager?
do anything about it. Not the homeowners, but the
Association.
management.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, this is a code enforcement issue because of the handbook that Toscana was built under. The landscaping in question is part of what's required under the handbook.
Okay.
Yes.
So we are working with the association to resolve that problem. They either have to plan them back or they gotta change the rules, so.
We
what
do not
she's
want the
talking about
rules
is,
changed.
you know, there's a rule change process, and that's up to the owners that live in that community.
And your yard looks fine, thank you.
My wife does a great job, thank you.
Yes, she does. So did your mom.
Okay, yeah, she did a great job too, you're right. Kirk Reinschmidt? Welcome, Kurt, another neighbor?
Hello, how are you? I'm also a resident of Toscana, which is a sub-community of DeAndrea. And when DeAndrea was conceived and the plans were drawn up, the PDU required in a city ordinance that there be a tree in every front yard in these communities. Now, the boards of directors have allowed some of these trees to be removed and not replaced. And now they're trying to have the PDU changed to allow the removal of these trees and not be put back. They want to eliminate this ordinance. I'm here to ask if you folks have any influence or are going to make this decision that you consider denying this change to allow these trees to be removed. The residents do not want our community denuded of the trees and the bushes and flowers and so forth in these front yards. There are some houses in this community of Toscana, which is a sub-community of DeAndrea, so those are the communities concerned, that have no living things of any kind in the front yards. It's all artificial turf, artificial plants, or nothing. There was no community survey to see what the residents thought of this move to change the PDU and this ordinance. And we ask that if you have any influence with whatever department of the city of Sparks that will make this decision, or if you yourselves will make this decision, that you entertain the idea of denying this. I was told by one city department head that this was presented to the city as one lone voice in the wind complaining. This is not the case. There's several members of the board of directors took it upon themselves to hire an attorney and start this process without any of the residents knowing it was going on. I think it's wrong, and so do other residents. Please give this matter some consideration if it comes before you. Thank you.
Thanks, Kirk. And it doesn't matter whether it's 1 or 50. I mean, if there's a complaint made, one person's plenty for us to take action or whatever we have to do. So, like our manager said, we're working on it. So, hopefully, is there any meetings scheduled to?
There,
vote on
nothing
this?
on this. In fact, I can't get any of the people to talk about it. They say it's in litigation, so they just dummy up. This has been the problem with any residents complain about anything. There's no response. They stand on the Nevada Revised Statute 116, but they don't explain it further. They just use that term to put you off. So please give it due consideration. That's all I ask. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirk. And from what our manager says, we're working in conjunction with them to figure out
It's a
what.
code enforcement issue with the homeowners association who controls the CCNRs. And so they're going to have to answer the questions that we pose them under the code enforcement process.
So we're working on it.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Kirk. Yeah. Barbara Piat? Pratt. I'm sorry, I couldn't read it.
Good afternoon, members.
Good afternoon.
My main concern is of Greyhound bus lines has a possibility of being moved out of the northern Nevada proper. They lost Greyhound going from here to Salt Lake for whatever reasons. I'm concerned because there are people like me who cannot afford to go on Southwest to, let's say, Salt Lake or Vegas or San Francisco, where Greyhound is in a reasonable form of public transportation for seniors and low-income seniors. I would like to see some arrangements or whatever the possibilities are, that arrangements can be made with Greyhound bus lines to provide public transportation to seniors to go to, let's say, Salt Lake City, San Francisco, that they can afford, because I would hate to see Northern Nevada lose Greyhound due to whatever reasons that the management discusses. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, I don't know if we have anything to do about that, but I know that Greyhound is working to find a place to stay, right?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. We were given an update by RTC, and they are, since they're the transportation folks, they've been in contact with different providers or different services, but I am not aware of what the current status is at this point, since it is a private industry.
Okay, they're working on it. I don't know what the outcome is gonna be. The city really has nothing to do with it, so we'll see what happens.
I have heard that two possibilities is Centennial Plaza as a possible site for Greyhound, 7th and Keystone as another possibility, and then, of course, one behind the men's club in Reno I don't think would be appropriate, especially with children, knowing the nature of the men's club. And then I checked with Greyhound representative a week ago today. They are on a day-by-day, if they're not notified, let's just say, as an example, if they're in existence today, they may have their orders to pull out of Northern Nevada tomorrow. That is how critical it is. Thank you.
Thank you. I think they turned down Centennial Plaza. Ira Dukes? Is it Ira or?
It's Ian.
Ian?
Hi, everybody. My name's Ian Dukes. I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm the new volunteer coordinator for 39 North Marketplace. So I moved here from Denver, got some property in Sparksburg, a Great Basin Brewery. Victorian Square was the first place that I came when I came to visit the Reno Sparks area to consider moving here. Picked up 8 family members on the way, and we're all real happy out here. So I'm really excited to be getting involved with the volunteers. My purpose I see with 39 North is giving the volunteerism aspect of 39 North its own spotlight, and just to work to grow that, energize that, and make it as easy and fun as possible for people to get involved. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Just wanted to come down here and introduce myself. Should be a good summer. I'm sure I'll see all of you around there.
Thanks, Ian. It's a good time for 39 North, I think, for downtown. Downtown's changing. If you, I know you haven't been here a long time, but I have, and it's unbelievable the changes that are going on down there. So there'll be some opportunities, I'm sure, and I hope it keeps going the way it is, because there'll be some awesome opportunities down there for people and businesses and so on and so forth. So good luck to you, and good luck to 39 North.
Cool. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, if you don't want to get involved, 39 North Volunteers is a good place to start on Facebook. So, yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Ian. Anyone else for public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on with the agenda. Approval of the agenda. Anybody want to take anything out of order? Mr.
Mayor, if possible, I'd like to pull item 9.1.
Okay.
It's something that we'll deal with again before the end of June, but it doesn't need to be done today.
Okay, so if I could have a motion including that amendment to pull 9.1, please? Mr. Smith?
Move to approve the agenda with the exception of 9.1.
Mr. Dare?
I second that.
Moved by Mr. Smith, seconded by Mr. Dare to approve the agenda as amended. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Thank you. Next is minutes, consideration and possible approval of the minutes of the regular Sparks City Council meeting of April 23rd, 2018. Any omissions or deletions, corrections? Okay, looking for a motion. Mr. Lawson.
Move to approve the minutes as presented.
Mr. Abbott.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lawson, seconded by Mr. Abbott to approve the minutes of April 23rd, 2018. Any discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Okay, moving on to announcements, presentations, 7.1 Proclamation Older Americans Month. Normally, being the oldest here, I always read that, but this year I'm going to let the youngest person read it. So, Mr. Abbott, if you would read and someone's here to collect this for the
Come on down.
come on down.
Come on down.
So young Mr. Abbott will read this and then he will present it to you. So,
Perfect.
go ahead, Don.
Awesome. Whereas the city of Sparks includes countless older Americans who enrich and strengthen our community, and whereas the city of Sparks is committed to engaging and supporting older adults, their families, and caregivers, and whereas we acknowledge the importance of taking part in activities that promote physical, mental, and emotional well-being, no matter your age, and whereas the city of Sparks can enrich the lives of individuals of every age by promoting home and community-based services that support independent living, involving older adults in community planning, events, and other activities, and providing opportunities for older adults to work, volunteer, learn, lead, and mentor. Now, therefore, I, Gino R. Martini, do hereby proclaim May 2018 as Older Americans Month.
Good job, Donald. Nice job. Okay, go ahead and say a few words. Donald will present the proclamation to you, and then if you got something to say, please, go ahead.
Take a photo.
Photo op.
Photo op. I only have this is my good side.
He doesn't have a good side. Turn around, Donald.
Here, gonna have to airbrush that one.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and city council members. It's great that we're recognized in Sparks, we seniors, because we seniors rock and we seniors are doing good. And we've had some great events out here this year for Older Americans Month, and I'm really proud of what we're doing for seniors. Thank you.
How do you qualify to be a
I'm
senior?
62. I just turned 62.
You look a day over 30 for crying out loud.
Thank you.
I just wanted to,
I will be 72 this year, and this is my 5th year, 5 years in participating in the Older American Month. Let's keep up the good work, and let's keep going, folks. We gotta run the race.
I just wanted to mention that this is one of the first Older Americans Months that we've had so many events at the Sparks Senior Center, and it's great.
That's good. Thank you so much, ladies. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have a proclamation for National Public Works Week. Is someone here to accept this? Come on down, sir. Christopher, you want to read this one? Okay, Charlene will read this for you, and then she'll present it to you.
Hi there, welcome. Whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of the city of Sparks, and whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees from state and local governments and the private sector, who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest of the citizens, civic leaders, and children in the city of Sparks to gain knowledge of and to maintain a progressive interest in understanding the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities. Whereas the Public Works Association has celebrated the annual National Public Works Week since 1960. Now therefore, on behalf of Gino R. Martini, Mayor of the City of Sparks, Nevada, do hereby proclaim the week of May 20th to the 26th, 2018 as National Public Works Week. I urge everyone to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our national health, safety, and quality of life. In witness thereof, with the seal of the City of Sparks, this 5th day of April 2018. He signed it, but we're declaring it today. So welcome. Congratulations. Okay.
Photo op. Landslide.
It's your best side.
Good point.
I already photobombed 2 photos earlier.
All right, if you want to give us your name for the record, go ahead and say a few words, please.
Mr. Mayor and Sparks City Council, thank you. I'm Lonnie Johnson. I am the Northern Branch Chair of the American Public Works Association, and we appreciate the proclamation today on American Public Works Week. As we know, many of us here, the council, commission, commissioners, public works departments, community development department, engineers, maintenance, and so forth, everybody here, it's all hands on deck. You guys do a fantastic job with maintaining and improving public works infrastructure to maintain our community And with all the growth we have going on, it's a critical need now as ever more than before, but always important. So we appreciate the proclamation, and we have a couple of events coming up. One this week is our monthly luncheon on Thursday. RTC is going to be presenting the Vision Zero initiative on the goal of zero fatalities in our public transportation program. So maybe some of you will be there for that. Thanks again, and we appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. We appreciate all your public works people. It's a great time for public works because there's going to be a lot of infrastructure jobs that are going to be coming soon, I hope, because we need them. Bridges, highways, what have you, infrastructure is going to be needed to be built. So good luck, and I know you guys will do a good job. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have a proclamation for Emergency Medical Services Week. Someone here to accept this? And Mr. Dare is going to read this.
As they come down here, I've had the honor of serving on the health board with these guys over a year now, and I have definitely enjoyed watching and hearing all the different things go on, and you guys have worked very hard, so here we go. Whereas emergency medical services are a vital component of the regional healthcare system, and the members of emergency medical services team are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And whereas access to quality, innovative emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury, and whereas the members of the emergency medical services teams engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills, and whereas the emergency medical services system consists of men and women in both the public and private sectors, from emergency physicians, emergency nurses, emergency dispatchers, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, firefighters, educators, administrators, volunteers, and others throughout our healthcare system who work together to ensure those in need receive the highest level of emergency care. And whereas REMSA, CareFlight, Reno Fire Department, Sparks Fire Department, and Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District's commitment to patient care throughout Northern Nevada has been an integral factor in our community's safety, security, and success. And whereas the successes of the employees and staff at REMSA, CareFlight, Reno Fire Department, Sparks Fire Department, and Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District are indicative of the dedication to the many communities served. Now, therefore, I, Gino Martini, Mayor of the City of Sparks, Nevada, do hereby proclaim May 20th to 26th, 2018 as Emergency Medical Services Week. Woo!
Okay, why don't you give us your names for the record, and whoever wants to speak, if you all want to speak, it's fine, no problem.
Speak first? Or?
Sure.
Mr. Mayor and City Council members, my name is Randall Todd. I'm with the Washoe County Health District, and I'm the Division Director for the program which houses the Emergency Medical Services Program. So we would certainly like to thank you for this recognition and the proclamation. And I think it's important to remember that the theme for this year's program is Stronger Together. And it's important to remember that the critical role that EMS plays when a disaster hits, and EMS responders are there to help those who need them most, whether that's the community, citizens, or fellow EMS providers. And I would just point out that a disaster doesn't necessarily have to affect a lot of people. If it's you that needs the EMS services, then that's a personal disaster for you, and it's reassuring to know that the EMS personnel are there to help.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Come on.
Thanks, folks. Appreciate it. Appreciate all your hard work. Okay, next, the presentation, Reno Tahoe International Airport Authority update. Are you gonna do this, Marty?
Well, good afternoon, Mayor Martini, members of the council, City Manager Driscoll, and Attorney Chad Adams. Thank you so much for this opportunity today to give our annual update concerning the Reno Tahoe Airport Authority. All right. Just have the next one there. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for your appointees to the Airport Authority. We have a fabulous chairman of the board this year, thanks to all of you. Sean Carey is doing an amazing job. He did just has been a natural at running the board meetings, and we're very fortunate to have him as our chair this year. Art Sperber also represents you well. He chairs our Planning and Construction Committee meeting and is doing a great job. So thank you again.
One thing I'd like to say about these two gentlemen. They're my go-to guys.
They're our go-to guys as well, so thank you for these appointments.
You know, they're awesome. I trust them. I know they won't BS me when things that they say they won't, they always tell me the truth. So these are my go-to guys whenever I have something important, and I consider the Airport Authority very important. So whenever I have an important job that I need done, I'm always calling Sean Carey and Art Sperber. They're the best.
Thank you very much. We agree.
Art, you never looked so good for those pictures. Were they touched up? Yeah.
So many of you know, I'll just quickly run through a couple slides because I'm going to turn it over to Dean Schultz. We're really here to talk about our master plan for the airport. But we own and operate Reno Tahoe International and Reno Stead Airport. We really collect 65% of our operating revenues come from non-airline sources. That's particularly important. We need to keep our rates and charges at a modest level to keep our airlines there and to attract new airlines. We're in the process of updating our economic impact for the Airport Authority, but we generate over $2 billion a year for Washoe County and have over 2,500 jobs at Reno Tahoe International. We're not often recognized as an economic engine of the community, but certainly we believe we are, and we look forward to our new economic impact study to show that we are contributing even more than in the past. We're very proud of our route map, particularly having gotten JetBlue to serve JFK, New York City a couple of years ago, and certainly bringing in Volaris Airlines for 3 flights a week to Guadalajara, very important addition. We've added a lot of service, certainly in Northern California and Southern California, and filled in a lot of gaps in between. But here's a list of recent route additions. Very proud to have brought Frontier Airlines back to our airport after that airline was gone for a decade. They now have service both to Denver and to Austin. So it's great to have that airline and have expansion by really our incumbent airlines. We had a record-setting year in 2017. We reached the $4 million passenger mark. That comes with money too, you know. We had growth of 10%, and we had not had 4 million passengers since 2008, so phenomenal number for us. Our seats were up 10.8%, and we're forecasted to grow in our seat numbers here this year as well. In March of this year, will have been 34 months of consecutive growth. So we're very, very happy to see these numbers going in the right direction. We have the Regional Air Service Corporation, which for new air service, they've been very supportive to have this group support us. We're really delighted to say that the Nugget has just joined the Regional Air Service Corporation. This is a group that's been around since 2001. It not only has tourism members, but it now also has business members. So this is really the group that supports new airline service and also provides marketing dollars for routes that might be struggling a bit. Exciting programs. We are at the very end of our 18-month process on our airport master plan. We had not done a master plan in 20 years. So this is really incredible project that we're engaged in, and I'm going to turn it over to Dean Schultz to quickly go through our master plan.
Sure. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor. It's fabulous to see you again. And good afternoon, City Council members. So the airport has enjoyed strong traffic growth over the last few years in concert with what has occurred in our community. As Mayor Lee said, in 2017, we achieved the 4 million passenger mark, which has not been something we've seen in 10 years, so it's always very encouraging. In regard to the master plan, with very modest growth of only 2% a year, our master plan expects or anticipates that we will be serving 6.5 million passengers a year annually at the end of the 20-year master planning horizon, which is over a 60% increase in traffic from the airport. Given the age and size of our facilities, we're going to need a number of improvements to accommodate that growth in demand. And so real quickly, I will just go through the major components of those and highlight those and be available for answer any questions. Starting with our concourses, we currently have 2 concourses with 23 gates, but not all of those gates are fully utilized or usable because they're constrained on the size of the aircraft they can accommodate. Those existing concourses are 40 years old. So there are continuously more maintenance requirements associated with them, and they're only 74 feet wide. Compared to what normal concourses built at airports these days are 110 to 130 feet wide, they're insufficient in space to accommodate restrooms and circulation and hold room and all important concessions which generate revenue. So, and we also have some operational issues. So our plan calls for replacement of the 2 existing concourses, and if market demand dictates, we will provide space for a 3rd concourse in the future. The first concourse you see there highlighted in yellow is a replacement of our current C concourse. This is the one on the north side, and it's just to the north of the existing building footprint. So we will replace that, but while we're also replacing that, we will also be upgrading our Customs and Border Protection facility. Our current facility was built in the late 70s, only has a capacity of 200 passengers per hour, and does not meet all of the customs requirements. So as part of the new concourse, we will build and install a new Customs and Border Protection facility that's capable of handling 400 passengers per hour. And we're also going to be looking at doing some additions to our admin space on the upper level of that concourse. Once that phase is complete, we will then replace our existing B concourse to the south. And as you can see by the spacings, we'll be able to allow for 2 taxi lanes in between that alleyway now, where there's currently 1, and we have some operational issues of aircraft coming and going. And then as demand dictates, if need be, we will have space to accommodate a 3rd concourse. On the land side, the parking and rental car ground transportation aspects, our current facilities are already experiencing overcrowding, both on the public parking, but also on the ready return facilities for the rental cars. So we're going to need to do improvements to address both of those facilities. And before I go there, I notice I'm off slides. Inside the main portion of the building, we're going to need to do some improvements. We've spent $100 million in the last 10 years upgrading the ticket counter, upgrading the security checkpoint, the baggage claim area. But over the next 20 years, there are also going to be some need for some improvements in that area, which may include another expansion of the security checkpoint. But we also want to improve the wayfinding and the signage in the facility to make it more intuitive for passengers to use the facilities. And we're also going to be looking at increasing the revenue and concession generating opportunities. So on to the land side, the parking and the rental car facilities. Both currently experience challenges. In fact, on Friday, our public parking lot filled up again. So we're going to need to expand both of those facilities. Our estimate is an additional 600 spaces in parking, and we're going to need to relocate the existing ready return out of the ground floor of the existing garage to make room for that space, but also provide additional space for the ready return. And I'll show you where those might occur. If you see the purple-green, that is a new facility that we will be constructing entirely for rental car operations. Now, many of you have seen consolidated rental car facilities and probably had to get on a shuttle bus and go off airport somewhere else to get your rental car. Because customer service is so important to us, we wanted to make sure that we kept that within walking distance. So there is no shuttle operation with our consolidated rental car facilities. People can walk to and from that facility to the terminal building. That will be a multi-story facility and will accommodate all of our rental car needs. But it also, removing that out of the public parking gives us the additional parking space we need that we can either accommodate in a surface lot or we can add to the existing parking garage. Moving quickly on to the cargo facilities, like our landside operation, our passenger and our cargo operations are now growing into each other and need to be deconflicted. We have lots of room in the southwest quadrant of the airport, about 100 to 130 acres of land available. So over time, all of the cargo operations will transition to that southwest quadrant of the airport. As you can see, we have this first block of yellow is what the 20-year forecast projects we will need to accommodate today's demand and future demand. We also have additional space to accommodate a high growth scenario, and we also have the capability to accommodate a fourth entrant to the market if such a situation would occur. Moving on to general aviation, it is a significant and important component of our airport operations, and therefore we're dedicating the entire east side of the airfield to general aviation. In the northeast corner there, we have about 20 acres of vacant land near the Dassault facilities is available for development. The current Area B there, and highlighted in yellow, is currently fully developed and most likely will stay because of the narrowness of the site with aircraft storage hangars. Area C here is about 40 acres of the old Brookside Golf Course is available for development that we can accommodate not only the transition of facilities from the west side of the airport to the east, but also have enough room to accommodate the growth anticipated beyond our current demands. And then we have about 15 to 20 acres in the southeast quadrant of the airport that could be utilized for general aviation. So the airfield, our runways and taxiways are the heart of an airport. Without runways and taxiways, we don't have an airport. So the master plan would be remiss if we didn't look at what the capabilities of our current runway facilities are and what could be gained if we expanded those runway facilities. Arriving aircraft are not as demanding on runways as departing aircraft are. So we looked at what would a longer runway provide in terms of would it accommodate larger aircraft, would it accommodate aircraft getting to further destinations from where they currently operate. Our current longest runway is 11,000 feet, and we have a parallel runway of 9,000 feet and a crosswind runway of 6,000 feet. There are a number of challenges we face in extending our runways. One you can see from this graphic is that we are fully developed around. All the land not owned by the airport has already been fully developed. We also have the Truckee River to the north. We have Rattlesnake Mountain to the south. So it's not an impediment that couldn't be overcome, but it would be a challenge to extend that runway in this current environment. Secondarily, we all know that we're a high desert environment, and that does not bode well for aircraft operations. So we have what is called high density altitude, and that is a combination of elevation and temperature. So the higher elevation an airport is at and the higher temperature that aircraft have to operate at, the less well they perform. So the graphic you can see here is we don't perform as well as an airport, say in San Diego or at sea level. The aircraft have to climb at a slower rate in Nevada or in Reno. We also, thirdly, have a challenge of terrain. This is a view to the north of the airport, and here's a view to the south. On both ends, we have mountainous terrain that an aircraft, if it can get off the ground, has to be able to climb at a rate fast enough to clear this terrain. So when we looked at all of the different challenges, and we looked at all the aircraft capabilities. There is some benefit to be gained if we were to extend the runway, but even in the best of conditions with the highest performing aircraft, it only adds about 500 to 1,000 nautical miles of range to that aircraft. And therefore, it's not necessarily the benefit we were hoping to find. The pavement, the runway extension itself would be about $250 million, but the harder hurdle to overcome is the $3.2 billion of terrain mitigation that we would have to remove. And essentially, we would have to be taking down very large mountains and hundreds and billions of cubic yards of dirt. So the project would not be grant eligible because there is no demand for the extended runways at this time. And there's no guarantee that if we did extend the runways, that New Air Service and airlines would bring aircraft to the market. So for all of those reasons, we are not proposing in the master plan to do a runway extension at this time. There are, however, a number of different things that can be done creatively and are being done to extend and maximize the use of the runways we currently do have. Aircraft operates seasonally. Winter charter flights from longer distance. Thomas Cook from London was a possibility and still is a possibility for in the future. Because it's colder in the winter, the aircraft perform better. JetBlue flies at night, primarily because their long distance to New York requires the cooler temperature. So that is one aspect. More efficient aircraft, better in terms of fuel efficiency, but also in aircraft performance are always coming down the pipeline. And there's also creative ways to look at the one engine in operative procedures. So with that in a nutshell, I will hand it back to Merrill Lee.
Just really briefly on Reno Stead Airport, we are a test range for the drones. In 2013, the state of Nevada was named as one of the 6 test sites. And of course, Reno Stead Airport has been very active, and we have actually NASA testing for the integration of the drones into the national airspace. So we're very excited about that. I do want to just mention that while we're talking about drones, congratulations really to the city of Sparks having joined with Reno and Washoe County with Flirty, and last week were named one of the 10 drone integration projects. Very exciting that Northern Nevada is on this list, and congratulations to you for being part of that project. Just want to mention some new airport amenities. Escape Lounge opened in December of last year. It's a common use facility that is open to any airline passenger. If you're a Platinum American Express card holder, you get in free. There is a fee of $40 the day before or $45 a day of service, and local chef Colin Smith is the caterer for that. So we're very excited. That has been very well occupied since it was open. New to the airport later this year, right ahead of the holidays, will be Vino Volo Wine Bar. Vino Volo operates in about 33 airports, and they will have a Nevada Verdi market also selling Nevada products. So it's at the top of the escalator after you come out of the TSA security. So you can go have some wine before your flight or hub coffee in the morning. So we're very excited about this new fresh food idea. That's what we're hearing from customers, what they'd like to see at the airport. I wanted to just mention that we're very thankful for the representation that we have on our committees from the city of Sparks. And of course, you certainly recognize Jim Rundle's name, one of your city employees who's been very active with the airport. I want to bring up our chairman, who is very passionate and is going to wrap this up talking about our challenges with the NDOT Spaghetti Bowl plan. Chairman Sean Carey.
Good afternoon. Thank you for this opportunity. I wanted to first start off by saying that we're absolutely committed to the success of NDOT and RTC in redoing the Spaghetti Bowl. It's a once-in-a-generation opportunity to get this project right. It'll take many years to construct, but there are some improvements that NDOT and RTC want to do almost immediately, and those have no impacts on the airport, and we are fully supportive of them moving forward as quickly as they can to eliminate some of the traffic conditions that are out there. We learned through the EIS process that a decision for an alternative to remove the ramps was looking to be the most favorable alternative out of 4 alternatives. And those ramps were built in the 1980s in response to trying to build a world-class airport. And airports are different than many of your other destinations. We currently have 4 million passengers a year. We're growing in the next 20 years to 6.5 million passengers. We have over 2,500 people that work at the airport, and access is very, very important. The number one reason is this is our first impression we're going to make. Coming and going from our region is going to be critical in the future. We know our market is going to be stretched. The products around the country in gaming, in skiing, are just getting better, and we want our airport to set the right tone. We believe that the proposals that are being shown to us will be a problem that will be difficult to overcome. And so we have met with RTC. I appreciated Ron's indulgence of utilizing his retreat to explain some of our issues. I'm also very thankful to the RTC staff. Mr. Gibson has been working with us to try and walk us through a process which is very complex for NDOT to proceed with. We do have today one of our nation's finest traffic engineers that we have retained to help us with the design challenges that NDOT was challenged with. And they do need to widen the Viaduct Freeway over the RTC Maintenance Building, which is located between Villanova and Plum Street, to 5 lanes in each direction. And that directly impacts the 2 ramps that we have. They're simply going to have to move out. And when you do that, you have to replace so much of the bridges because of the radiuses that were used. You have to join up to those in a nice uniform pattern for the design speeds we're trying to utilize. We believe we're in a very cooperative process with NDOT today to sort out a good solution for our ramps. We're meeting with them just about weekly right now. Their engineers are talking with our engineers, and I think we're going to find some resolution that will put us back on course. If we're not successful, however, it isn't something that doesn't have a huge public safety ramification to us. Without those ramps, we have really one signalized intersection from which to get 4 million passengers and 2,500 employees through every day, along with cargo and buses. Many of those people are unfamiliar. And the public safety aspect was best presented to me by the chief of the FBI from Las Vegas, who spoke to us just last summer about the growing number of attacks which are occurring in the non-security side of the airport. And it is that type of attack that would be very devastating to us. We have a police force and a fire department which is there to fight aircraft fires, but we do rely upon the cavalry arriving. And every year we do an exercise called Broken Wing, where we work those exercises with our regional partners. We'll be in a very short order. An incident at the airport would need to have direct access from arriving public safety trucks from Reno, Truckee Meadows, Sparks, as well as law enforcement, just to handle the number of casualties, just to handle the number of people injured, and to safely move people out of the line of fire or out of the zone of impact. And that's not always common, but airports are a target in our country, and we do need to take safety as our very highest priority. So keep in mind our safety, keep in mind goodwill for us to retain something which is an amenity to the airport, that access to and from flows at a very high level of service today. It's not confusing to people. They're not trying to navigate through congested streets. And so we would appreciate just keeping your eyes on the matter and not losing something which would take us another generation to even begin a discussion on. I'd be happy to answer any questions or turn it back to Mayor Lee.
I'm going to turn it back to Mayor Martini, if you have any time for questions or.
Questions, anyone?
I just have one comment.
Go ahead, Charlie.
No questions, just a comment, since I spend a lot of time at the airport in and out. And I can compare you to airports all over the world that I travel through. And I just want to give you kudos for, number one, the security that I always feel very secure flying through the airport, and at the same time, security is very friendly, and customer service that you give across the board, from your teams that do the kindness things to the security itself. I think for the size of our airport in this community, I think it's always a welcome place to come home to after being in many other destinations. So you guys are doing a great job, and I'm excited about all the expansion coming because the airports are full now, and they will continue to as the economy grows and as our population grows. So thank you for a job well done.
Amen. Very good. Anyone else?
Thank you for your time today. So appreciate it, and we appreciate your support, and thank you for the amazing representatives you have sent our way from the city of Sparks.
My pleasure. I know they always do a good job, so thank all of you for what you do. We appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, 7.5 is a presentation from the Eddy House. Welcome.
Thank you. Any place? I've never done this actually sitting down, so this will be interesting. Are you loading? It's on the desktop. It's okay. I may. They don't even trust me with email at work, so. Is it in the file? Nope. It's on the desktop. Yes, I do. I heard you guys were patient, so I'm
very
gonna hold you
patient.
to it. Thank you so much for rescuing me. This is. There it goes, on the desktop. So my name is Michelle Gear, and I am the Executive Director of Eddy House. We are located in downtown Reno at 423 East 6th Street between Valley and Record. We are the central intake and assessment facility for all homeless youth in northern Nevada. We serve primarily non-system youth, meaning these are kids living on our streets that are not affiliated with any government agency, any other nonprofit, any services. They're just on our streets. To give you an indication of numbers, in 2017, Eddy House served 769 individual homeless youth. We had over 9,000 interactions or visits. We do not duplicate services within our community. We actually partner with about 25 different agencies all over, Sparks, Reno, you name it. To tell you a little bit about our kids, these are kids who have lost a parent or primary caregiver, oftentimes through death, incarceration, or abandonment. 39% have aged out of foster care, and 83% moved more than 5 times as a child. So these are kids that may have come out of our juvenile justice, our foster systems, or have been abandoned. We've seen an increase. Our numbers are up from 2016, where we had 504 individual homeless youth, and 2015, where there were less than 200, to 769. We anticipate seeing over 1,000 in 2018 as a result of the housing crisis. We're seeing an increase in our community in child abuse, domestic violence, and drug and alcohol abuse. These are affecting our families and pushing our teens out onto the street. We are a drop-in center. We focus on ages 12 to 24 with the caveat that if you're under 18, you cannot be at Eddy House before 2 o'clock, or else we would be called the truant house. So we really focus on that gap in services. There are already services existing for our under 18s. We really want to focus on the 18 to 24. The data shows that if you can intervene in the life of a homeless youth before the age of 25, they do not become homeless again. So you can effectively stop the cycle of homelessness before it even gets started. So that is where we are today. We are all about prevention. Less than 12% of our population are the under 18s. We do call social services and RPD if we know that there's a runaway or a minor living unaccompanied on the street. 71% of these kids are from Washoe County, 8% are from rural Nevada. That includes Gardnerville, Carson City, Elko. We provide basic needs. That's where we start. We found that everything at Eddy House needs to be relationship-based, and what that means is eye contact, handshaking, and a safe place to be. In addition to showers, clothing, food, and a place to rest during the day, we are a day program only because of funding. So at 5 o'clock, we release our kids back out onto the street. It's important to note that Nevada is now number 2 in the nation for human trafficking per capita. About 58% of Eddie House kids have been trafficked for sex or labor at some point in time or another. Nevada now has the fastest growing homeless youth population in the entire country. In addition to our basic needs, we also do psychosocial education. We really focus on those job skills, life skills, and the social and emotional skills, mental health groups, goal setting. We do everything from addiction counseling to trauma-informed yoga. Those are what our partners come in to do. Everything is on site. It is unrealistic for us to send kids out to 14 different stops on the bus line to do one thing. Those are too many barriers. We really teach them how to navigate, and we are all about self-efficacy. If you cannot have a conversation with an adult, you cannot make eye contact, or you cannot navigate basic life skills, you will not be able to be a productive member of our community, and you will not be able to live a productive life. You will not be able to parent your children, have successful relationships, or hold a job. And that's really where we try and focus. Oftentimes we find that you can only model behavior that you've witnessed. If you come from a very dysfunctional home, it is difficult to model that, to model healthy behavior. And so we have to reframe, and that's really what our focus is. We are 100% trauma affected. 100% of kids at Eddie House report that they are physically or sexually assaulted on the streets of downtown Reno at least once a week. That's big. 60% need an education. They don't have a high school diploma or GED. 70% had an IEP or special education plan while they were in our schools. 92% live on the streets, in motels or couch surf. They'll often do 15 to a room at the weekly motels, which is unsanitary and inhumane. And 71% of our kids report that they were safer living on the streets than they were in their homes. As I mentioned, Nevada now has the fastest growing homeless youth population in the country, and youth make up 25% of the overall homeless in Nevada. The Interagency Council on Homelessness says that the average community spends between $30,000 and $50,000 a year on a single homeless person. We know that between the county and the city of Reno, the city of Sparks, it's about $40,000 that we spend on a homeless person. Eddie House estimates that if half of our kids access the ER, are incarcerated for any reason, and they're picked up in the casinos all the time for loitering, or if they use the shelter, that's about 8% use the adult shelter, citing safety concerns. It's costing City of Reno, City of Sparks, and Washoe County as a whole about $12 million a year. However, we lost a boy about a year ago. His name was Devontae. He was living in one of the weeklies. He got a bacterial infection from breathing in all of the yuck, and he died of heart failure after 2 months in St. Mary's. His hospital bill alone was $2 million. So we estimate that this is probably closer to $20 million to have our kids on the streets. And as I mentioned, these are our children. They're coming out of our homes. These are Nevada kids. In addition to the cost, we also have increased blight and crime and a higher rate of human trafficking. The demand is there. You need to know that homeless youth are homeless for different reasons than adults. So with the adults, you're going to see a higher rate of substance abuse. You're going to see a higher rate of mental illness. Those may be contributing factors to them being homeless. With the youth, you don't see that yet. And that really is a matter of time spent on the street. The longer they're out there, the more assaulted they are, the more trauma affected they are, the more the chance that they will begin to become addicted or severely mentally ill. 75% of homeless youth will realize their mental illness fully by the time they're 25. And a homeless youth is 5 times more likely than an adult to sleep in a place that's not meant for human habitation. As I mentioned, less than 8% of our kids use the adult shelter, once again citing safety concerns. Basically, our kids talk a tough game until they see an adult homeless person coming down the street, and then they run for cover. They're preyed on by the older population. I have done a needs assessment on our population, and the number one need is employment. With a 30% tradesperson shortfall in this community. I have a ready, willing, and able workforce. We just need an overnight facility. Why don't they use the shelters? Once again, I mentioned safety concerns, and really those are big issues. So today, we operate in a space of about 1,000 square feet. We see about 65 kids a day. Our largest day, our busiest day, was 104 individual street youth in our 1,000 square feet with no conflict. Every kid that comes into Eddie House signs a behavior contract, and rules and expectations are clearly enforced. We work really hard on those relationships to make it a family atmosphere. And so it's not uncommon if you come in to do a tour to see the kids really interacting with staff and each other and doing that in a safe manner. It was very important to me, because our kids are PTSD affected, much like our combat veterans, to have a place where they can relax that fight or flight response, or else they can't take any extraneous information in. So if you're in a constant state of fight or flight, you cannot learn job skills or life skills. We hope this year to have an overnight facility in the downtown corridor. It is imperative that we have a safe place for these kids to be at night, where they're not being sold or beaten. We can get them working. 85% will be working and back in school if we can have a safe facility at night, really carrying over that drop-in culture. I've spent 2.5 years of my life now on this. I came back to Reno on vacation, actually. I used to do this work in the South Bronx. And I know that this is the type of programming that can work. We have an opportunity. To be totally honest with all of you, I wouldn't know what to do with an adult homeless person. I have no idea. But I do know how to fix it for kids. And I do know that the thing they want most in the world is to be normal and just to be productive members of our community. This is an opportunity, and I see Northern Nevada as a national model and showing like cities how to solve a social problem like this. Our facility is fully staffed at all times. There is never an area where the kids are not staffed, and we really work with them one-on-one. My staff knows every one of these 769 kids by name. That's why it works. How can you help? Well, we need socks and underwear. I was just told that. We also need bus passes. That's huge. But we are working toward this 24-hour facility. We need introductions for significant funding. We need the city of Sparks, the city of Reno, and Washoe County to help us come together. We are serving this population with great outcomes. We just finished a data project. We collect the most data on this population in the entire country. It tells a story. We will be disseminating that quarterly so that you will know everything you ever wanted to know or didn't want to know about homeless youth. And I really think that this is an adult problem to solve. And it's going to take the entire community to come together and decide that we do not want our children living on the streets like animals. That's really what it's going to take. I need insight, I need experts, and social media support. So if anybody here is on Facebook, push us out. And last but not least, take a tour. A couple of our council people have come in for a tour. They've been incredibly supportive. Councilman Dare and Councilwoman Bybee have been phenomenal, just incredible. I appreciate you both. If you have any questions, here's my contact information. And last but not least, our boy that passed away, we were looking for a way to honor him. As I mentioned, his name was Devontae. And we are launching an initiative called Devontae's Gift. He would have been 24 years old this month. I have birthday invitations. We are going to have a community birthday party on the 31st of this month. I invite all of you to come in for cake and tours. It's going to be from 3 to 7. It is on social media as well, but I have invitations for everybody up here. And I encourage you to come by, celebrate this young man's birthday. This was a young man that was putting himself through TMCC. He was, I used to call him my shiny star. He was my favorite. He was just a phenomenal, strong leader. And he's not with us anymore because he didn't have a safe place to be at night. So birthday invitations for everyone. Any questions for me?
Thanks, Michelle. We appreciate it. Any questions for anybody? Christopher, go ahead.
Yes, I do hope that the rest of our council, if they don't have a chance, haven't been down there, get a chance to come down and see. And just your work that you're doing is very important. we're having a lot of conversations these days where everyone's trying to come together to try to come to some answers. And I do believe personally that this could be one of the things that help curb some homelessness, because we actually are down there. If you know Aaron West with Nevada Builders Association, they were just down there, and they're signing up these students to come in and work and get and actually have education behind them to be able to do so, which is part of the key to that. So there's a lot of different things, a lot of moving parts, but thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Ivy.
Thank you so much for coming. What you're doing is amazing. You are amazing because you are spreading this word in the community. And I would encourage people, besides taking a tour, to go online. You can make donations. You can drive. It's kind of hard because there's not a lot of parking. So I've dropped things off, but you can go online and Amazon. Through Amazon, you can be sitting in your kitchen and you can order what they need, and you always have a wish list up there. And it's a great, easy way for anybody to make a donation, however small or however large, to the needs that you have for your water and underwear and snacks and all of those things. So I would encourage you, would they go through the Facebook page, or what's the best way to get that Amazon gift list?
You can go directly through our website, which is right here. It's eddyhouse.org. And you can go to our Facebook page. We also have our wish list on Facebook. I think on Instagram too. I don't have Instagram. I don't know. But Instagram, or you can make monetary donations through both of those things as well. I always feel weird about asking for things and asking for money, which I know as an executive director is probably not a good thing, but you know, we always need that.
Thank you.
Mr. Lawson.
So there's some great claims that you said you can fix youth homeless. That's something we can't say about adult homeless.
That's true.
And at 25% of the homeless population being youth, I'm very interested in talking to you. We just had our first meeting of the CHAB Homeless Board this morning, and that is huge. If we can whack 25% of the homeless right now with a solution, that seems to me like the low-hanging fruit for us to get to. So let's take a big swipe at that, and I definitely want to talk to you more.
Thank you so much. I am part of the Raw Leadership Board, so the Reno Area Alliance for the Homeless, and that is a focus. Now, I think that in this community, we're moving toward prevention. Really, the last thing they want to do and the last thing we want them to do is age into the adult system. It just has no exit strategy. So you just go from shelter to overflow to streets. Yeah, there's no solution, and I really feel like we need to, absolutely. We can stop it before it starts. That's where the key is.
That's the way you fix it.
Right.
Michelle, I too have taken a tour of your facility, I think before you were there, maybe
Right.
with one of your board members named, I forgot his last name, Nick.
Oh, that was way before my time.
Yeah, it must have been, Nick was first involved when it just got started. The Eddy House was just barely off the ground when I took my tour there, was through the facility. But the unfortunate thing about this is that we have to have facilities like this. It's really sad that we have to have something like this in any town, whether it's Reno, Sparks, wherever, that we have to have a facility that takes care of homeless children. It just breaks my heart every time I see the kids that go to the Eddy House, and a lot of kids that are not going to the Eddy House are even worse. It's just gut-wrenching to see them, and it's, like I said, it's very unfortunate we have to do this, but it's a necessity. Mr. Dare.
Could you just real quick mention on Friday nights how the people can come and help feed? And the reason I want to say this is a lot of times we have churches and groups, and sometimes we are trying to figure out how best to direct them to a place where they can serve and really serve where it's going even farther. And so on Friday night, there's a family dinner time. Can you just for a second talk about that, and then I'll stop talking.
So I knew that the way for this to be successful was through buy-in with the kids. I needed them fully bought in and really to own this. The way to do that was to create culture. So we started the Friday family meal. So every Friday at 2 o'clock, a group, an individual, or an organization bring in a hot meal for 70. The kids all know about it, so they all come in off the street. I don't have to outreach anymore. It's all word of mouth. So they come in, and it's really a feedback session. It's a way for us to give them feedback and them to give us feedback, and we eat communally. We have a wonderful sit-down meal. We picked Friday because we are closed on the weekends due to funding, and this is the only thing they'll eat oftentimes over the weekend. So it's a big hot meal. We encourage, some vegetables, some protein, some carbohydrates, and then dessert. So these organizations or individuals bring this in. They can serve if they want to. They don't have to stay. But the kids are very, very appreciative. It's a bit of a madhouse in there. And then throughout the week, we incentivize with raffle tickets. So every time you clean up after yourself, you do a chore. If you do my yard work, you get a ton. If you go to a group or fill out a job application, you get a raffle ticket. And on Friday meal, we raffle off 5 $10 gift cards. And it gets very competitive. I've actually had kids make horrendous messes and then come in and say, I don't know what happened, but somebody made a mess and I need some raffle tickets. And of course, we have them on video, so we get to show them their picture making the mess. But it gets very, very competitive, and they're seriously bought in. It's what helped to create that family climate, and that is why I can have 100 Forest Street youth in a space of 1,000 square feet and have no conflict. So I encourage people to sign up. If you give us a call or send an email, check us out online, you can go ahead and book a Friday with your group, yourself, or your organization, or whatever it is.
Michelle, thanks so much for the report. And we know we have a homeless problem, youth and adult. What bothers me the most, I think, is that homeless has been on our conversation quite a bit. And to a T, and I just heard it from you about the youth, we ask them why they won't go to a shelter. It's because they're either going to get robbed, assaulted, or mugged, one or the other. And the people we're paying to supply the overflow shelters are supposed to be watching for this stuff, and obviously it's not being done. So what's the answer to that? Do you have any answer? Because that's what we're struggling with right now.
Councilman, you're going to get me in trouble.
Well, I don't want to get you in trouble. We realize there's a problem, and we're going to try to fix it.
You
probably don't have that problem.
I don't have that problem.
No, I know you
and
don't.
So
Let 'em go at night.
it's a completely different population. To be
Yeah.
honest with you, I mean, here are some of the challenges in our communities. We have no detox now, right? So if I have a kid who is addicted, that's a very small percentage of the youth population. But if I have one and wants to get clean, I have no place to send them. I have kids that are active schizophrenics that are absolutely incoherent and unable to care for themselves, and I can't get them a mental health bed. If I can't do that for my 800 kids, I don't know how they're going to do it on Record Street when the problems are so many, right? They don't have 5 schizophrenics, they have 500, right? So I think it's just a different population, and VOA, they do what they can. I don't know that they have the funding to provide, all of the expertise they need. I don't know what to do with the adult population. I'll be totally honest. I would have no idea, and I can't even. Yeah, I can't even speak to it. I mean, honestly, I've seen great data from Housing First models where you have services wrap around on site and they just house them and it's cheaper. But honestly, I think that the key is going to be to prevent it from happening in the first place by not having the youth age out. I can almost guarantee that if you go to the VOA campus and you ask the adults there what age they became homeless, they're going to tell you they were in their teens when it first happened.
Well, I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
And it's a
Great service.
work of dedication, so thank you for doing all of that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. I think we need to put together a Sparks City Council to sponsor a Friday night, and I'm going to put Mr. Dare in charge because he's obviously working with you, right? So I'd like to ask Mr. Dare to volunteer to collect money from the council, find out how much it's going to cost, put together the
We're having
cost
steak
for
and
it.
lobster, baby.
That's fine. You put together what it is, have whatever you want, and the council will split it if that's okay with everyone. And I
You're
know
billing
is.
it to Mayor Martini.
Not a problem. Italian's good. We'll put it on TV that the Sparks City Council will sponsor a Friday night. And Mr. Dare will collect those funds and we'll take care of it, Michelle.
Thank you, Councilman. I feel like you were a little arm twisted there, but I'll take it.
No, he volunteered. Did you
Okay.
volunteer?
Okay, good.
I volunteered. Yes, sir. I did. We miss you. We miss having you here, sir.
It's not a problem. It's not a problem when the Godfather speaks up and says, would you volunteer? They usually
Right.
do. They're pretty good about it. So we love it. That's why we love the council here in Sparks.
I'll take it. I like the way you work.
Appreciate all you do and thank you very much.
Thank you. And
Michelle, if you'll
invitations?
see me too, I can hook you up with some bus passes.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Would it be possible? I have to get back for a grant. Would it be possible to email you?
Yeah.
Or, okay, or call you?
Yeah.
Ron
Okay,
Smith.
thank you.
Gino Martini is my name.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you. And do I give this
Okay, we have consent items 8.1 through 8.3. Anybody want to pull a consent item? If not, looking for a motion? Ms. Bybee.
I move to accept consent items 8.1 through 8.3.
Mr. Lawson?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Bybee, seconded by Mr. Lawson to approve the consent items. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Okay, I've got a stop to make. I'm going to let Mr. Smith carry the meeting. I'll be right back.
Okay, 9.1.
We pulled 9.1.
Oh, we pulled 9.1.
9.1 is.
Okay. Okay, we'll move on to 9.2. Consideration, discussion, and possible adoption of resolution number 3332 to augment the FY18 budget by $800,000 in the Development Services Enterprise Fund to provide appropriations for higher than expected professional services. Welcome.
Thank you.
How are you?
City Council and Mayor, I'm Stacy Hemmerling, your Budget Administrator. Item 9.2 seeks for adoption of a resolution that will augment the budget in our Development Services Enterprise Fund. With development increasing, we've increased our permit and our plan review revenues, but expenses have also increased. And we find ourselves looking like we're going to go over budget in several areas with professional services. So this is to avoid a budget violation. We are within NRS to do this augmentation, but we need to just formally adopt the resolution so that we don't have that violation.
And this pays for itself.
Yes.
It pays for itself, and we're not actually coming up with another $800,000. We have
No,
it.
we just need the budget authority. We have the funds, we need the appropriations.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Stacy? Okay, seeing none, looking for a motion? Mr. Abbott.
I move to adopt resolution number 3332 to augment the FY18 Development Services Enterprise Fund budget.
Ms. Bybee.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Ed, did you want to say something else?
Nope.
Okay. Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. What's that? Okay, 9.3, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of funding allocation of $249,500 for FY18 and FY19 as recommended by the Tourism Marketing Committee for 2018 special events. We got Tracy, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. Tracy Dominguez, Parks and Recreation Director. Before you today is, we're seeking approval for the funding allocation of a total of $249,500 for various 2018 special events as recommended by the Tourism and Marketing Committee. The committee met back in January to review the funding applications for the 18 special event season and heard presentations from the event producers at that time. So with that, I'll answer any questions you may have.
Okay, any questions or comments? Mr. Lawson, your name's still up there. Did you want to talk?
I'm just going to make a motion. I have a quick question. Unless there's questions.
Mr. Abbott.
Yeah, they get the check after the event.
No, they actually get it prior to the event. The producer would, upon approval of the funding, the producer would send us an invoice, and then we will cut a check. I believe it's 30 or 45 days prior.
30 days before?
Yes. So we have 2 check requests ready to go to finance upon your approval today.
Mr. Dare.
I just had one quick question. There's 4 that did not get funded. Did they end up, are they still going to have their events, or was it contingent on them getting funded? Just.
Good question. They had, the funding for barricades was actually determined that, staff is working on that project through CIP. And the Shamrock Shuffle did cancel their event, not because of the funding. They canceled prior, so they didn't present. And then the Coors Light 48-hour Boneyard Blast, they are a very long-standing, successful event. And during their presentation, they had stated that they were full. So we weren't sure how you could expand upon a full event. And then Jet Jam Racing, honestly, I don't know, I don't know the status of that event.
And the reason I ask is, I mean, I'm not that we have extra funds in this particular thing, but we are the place where it happens here in Sparks, and if we have people who want to be here doing activities, I just interested to know what we might be losing or whatever cost-wise, so, but thank you.
Mr. Lawson?
Are you ready for a motion now?
Certainly.
All right. Move to approve the funding allocation of $249,500 for fiscal year 18-19 as recommended by the Tourism and Marketing Committee for 2018 special events.
Okay, we have a motion. Look for a second. Mr. Abbott?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? You know, I'd like to chime in just a little bit on what Mr. Dare just was talking about. We have a finite amount of money we get every year, and we actually use that money. We fund more events or whatever you want to call them than anybody else in town with that money, and that's less than everybody else gets. So at some point it gets, you got to say no to somebody. You just can't, or you cut the amount on the other people. And we try to predict that we usually have a new event come in later on and wants to get in, and we do have some funds available that we can actually do that. But this is what we do every year, so. Very little. But otherwise, you'll never get any new events. You fund all the old ones all the time, so. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Thanks, Tracy. Okay, we're gonna go to, is it 9.4?
Yep.
Consideration, discussion, and possible direction to the city manager to initiate changes to Title 20 of the Sparks Municipal Code to permit wineries in additional zoning districts. Mr. Rundle.
Mayor Pro Tem, Sparks City Council, Jim Rundle, Planning Manager, to present this item. There is currently an interest in establishing a winery in one of the new retail buildings in Victorian Square. In 2015, when the City Council added wineries as a permitted use in the zoning code, it limited the use to be in the agricultural zoning districts, and that had to do with some state statutes at the time. The only mechanism currently to permit wineries in Victorian Square would be through the code amendment process, which is what we are initiating today, and that was initiated by Councilman Abbott. Staff is bringing this item back for the City Council to consider directing the city manager to initiate that code amendment process. It's staff's opinion that a winery is similar to the uses of craft distilleries and breweries that are can operate in downtown, or excuse me, in Victorian Square currently. If the City Council were to direct the city manager to initiate a code amendment, it would be the beginning of the process, which staff would ultimately bring a recommendation back to the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission would forward a recommendation to the City Council. And that concludes my presentation.
Questions or comments? Ms. Bybee?
Jim, I just had one question. So are we only looking at Victorian Square at this time, or in either redevelopment district for the code to change and this type of winery to be allowable?
The request through Councilman Abbott was for Victorian Square, but staff would look at all the appropriate designations in the municipal code zoning districts, and we would make a proposal to more than just Victorian Square if it's appropriate.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? You know, Jim, my only concern was that they were told they were going to require an ag zoning, and they're not growing grapes; they're buying juice. So it's a winery, but it's not a winery.
Right,
So-
and maybe they misunderstood. The problem is that's the only district that permits it currently.
Okay.
So if they wanted to do it currently in an ag zoning, which I think we only have a little bit in North
Yeah, there's-
Sparks.
Yeah, DeAndrea.
This would potentially permit them to go like what they intended to do.
I've been growing grapes.
Oh, good.
Full disclosure. But my 9-month-old dog, my terrorist dog, has ripped them all out, so I'm gonna go out and buy juice, I guess, I don't know. Okay, any other, Mr. Lawson?
I'm just gonna encourage staff to find other places besides Victorian Square. I think that could be a really cool thing for Sparks to have a winery district thing where I think that's a cool little idea for the future.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Looking for a motion? Mr. Abbott.
I move to direct the city manager to initiate changes to Title 20 of the Sparks Municipal Code to permit wineries in additional zoning districts.
Okay, we have a motion. Looking for a second. Ms. Bybee.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Thanks, Jim. Okay, 9.5, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of a recommendation from the Regional Street Naming Committee to rename a portion of Kitsky Lane between Galletti Way and Victorian Avenue to Battleborn. Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and City Council members. John Erickson, City Engineer for the record. And joining me here today is Wendy Simons, the Deputy Director of Wellness with the State of Nevada. Bear with me. Okay, the State of Nevada has made a request to change the street name from Kitsky Lane to Battleborn Way. This is Galletti Way on the left-hand page, or left-hand side of the page, and Victorian Avenue up at the top right corner of the page. The Mayor Martini received a letter dated November 13th, 2017, requesting in support of the street name change. The other item that the governor requested is that the address for the Northern Nevada Veterans Home be 36 Battleborn Way, and what that's for is to represent our state being the 36th to join the Union. The Regional Street Naming Committee approved the street name change on January 18th of 2018. The reason why we're before you here this afternoon is there was an interlocal agreement that was developed back in 1982 that formulated the street naming committee. And it was between Sparks, Reno, Washoe County, and Regional Planning. In that document, it stipulates the governing body, or this council, retains the right to accept or reject the recommendation from the street naming committee. With that, staff is requesting that the city council approve the recommendation from the street naming committee. And I'd be happy to answer any questions or give Wendy an opportunity to chime in on this item.
Wendy, you want to chime in?
Sure, of course, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you very much. And I appreciated John inviting me to the table here today, and I know you've put up with me in the past talking about the home. So I won't go down that path, but we did give you an update. We're very excited about the potential of now having Battleborn Way and 36 be the address of the under construction state veterans home. And we really appreciated the fact that the governor brought that forward to the Regional Street Planning Committee. You can see that's the progress. That's kind of where we are as of today. Well, actually, as of May 1st, it's our aerials fly over the first of every month, and our photographer gives us updates. So you can see we're progressing rather rapidly, and you have updated information in the documents I gave you, so I'm not going to take your precious time by going over that unless you have any questions.
Questions or comments? Looks like you guys are going to town.
Yeah.
Looking good.
Wow.
Okay, Mr. Dare.
One, I want to recognize Kat being here. Thank you for coming as well. You guys have been working very hard on it. We got to go, Donald and I were at a update the other day. We got to see all of your pictures and hearing all that's going on. We look forward to coming out and touring. But I think it's fantastic, and I think it's a fun thing that we get to be a part of this. So thank you, and thank you for coming today. And
thank you.
I'll support this for sure.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, looking for a motion. Mr. Dare.
I move to approve the recommendation from the Regional Street Naming Committee to rename a portion of Kitsky Lane between Galletti Way and Victorian Avenue to Battleborn Way.
Yay. We have a motion, looking for a second?
Second.
Ms. Bybee?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, that's right. That's what we have a second now. We have a motion and a second. Is there any?
Hit your button next time.
Wasn't even him, it was Ed.
It was it.
It was Ed.
I'm
Okay,
sorry,
we have a
Donald.
motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Good stuff.
Thank you so much. We are honored and privileged to be in Sparks. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Numbers 9.6. Consideration, discussion, possible approval of a research agreement, AC-5471, with the University of Nevada, Reno, for the creation of a process computer model for Truckee Meadows Water Reclamation Facility in an amount not to exceed $126,000.
Nobody.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Shall I wait for the mayor?
Yeah, wait till he gets in here, we'll just pull him in here.
Excuse me, sir.
Captain America.
Yeah. You want to back in here? Parallel park.
Do you have a license for that?
Will it turn all the way around? About 10 feet more? Perfect. Okay, we're on 9.6, Jim?
All right, go ahead.
Michael.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, Michael Drinkwater, Treatment Plant Manager. You have before you a request today to approve an agreement with University of Nevada, Reno on behalf of Truckee Meadows Water Reclamation Facility to create a computer model, BioWin model, for the process at the plant. As we've discussed, this model will represent each of the distinct unit processes we have and allow us to model not only what we currently have, but we will be able to use it predictively. For example, changes in influent, in strength, any type of particular pollutant or characterization, as well as changes we might want to make to the process to give us some idea of what the output might be. This model will, the actual computer model itself is fairly easy to create, then it requires a fairly intensive field calibration to ensure that it represents what we currently have. We have a reasonably complicated treatment process out there, so it's going to take a little bit of work to make the model match the real world, but once we have it, it'll assist us in our day-to-day operations as well as our long-term planning. This is a tool that most large treatment plants have, and Tumwharf currently does not have one, and I would like to correct that, so I'm seeking your approval for exactly that.
Questions for Mr. Drinkwater? Okay, no questions, looking for a motion. Mr. Abbott?
I move to approve the research agreement with the University of Nevada, Reno, for the creation of a process computer model for the Truckee Meadows Water Reclamation Facility in an amount not to exceed $126,000.
Mr. Smith?
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Abbott, seconded by Mr. Smith to approve 9.6 outlined by staff. Any questions? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Thank you, I appreciate it. 9.7 is consideration, discussion, and possible approval of the process proposed lease agreement AC 5472 between Nevada Veterans Memorial Plaza and the City of Sparks, which will generate revenue of up to $23,000 over a period of 20 years. Tracy Dominguez, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Mayor Martini and council members. Tracy Dominguez, Parks and Recreation Director. Before you today is a proposed lease agreement between the City of Sparks and the Nevada Veterans Memorial Plaza, a local nonprofit. As you may be aware, their initial site, their original proposed location for the Memorial Plaza at the southeast corner of Gregg Street and Sparks Boulevard was determined to be a floodplain, and there began the search for a new site. In speaking with staff, Tony Pele, Recreation Supervisor, had suggested our Sparks Marina Park. At that point, staff met with members of the Nevada Veterans Memorial Plaza Board and Mayor Martini, as well as City Manager Steve Driscoll at the marina, and the site was selected.
Grassy knoll, right?
The grassy knoll, yes. So at that point, staff began working on the lease agreement that's before you today. The lease is good for 20 years. It starts with an initial term of 5 years with 3 additional 5-year options for renewal. There will be a payment schedule as outlined in the lease from the foundation to the City of Sparks for approximately $1,000 a year. They are permitted to have events free of charge on their leased premises, which is the grassy area by the parking lot and just south of the concession stand. If they wish to do an event outside of their leased premises and utilize the entire park for a fundraiser of some kind, fees will be charged as they would be to anybody else. However, we will do everything we can to make all these events successful for this endeavor. And I think with that, I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have. You have the lease and exhibits in your packet.
I think Mr. Dare and Mr. Smith have left the podium because they're members of the board of the Nevada Veterans Memorial Plaza unit, so they're going to abstain. I believe that's why they've left. So, questions from anybody?
If there are no,
Ms. Bybee?
I just wanted to make a statement that I am not abstaining from voting on this matter. I have been involved solely in a volunteer capacity with the dinner fundraisers that the Nevada Veterans Memorial Plaza has held for the last 3 years. So purely as a volunteer, I don't serve on the board. I'm not in the advisory board either, so just as a volunteer, and I just wanted to disclose that, but I have no benefit from, actually it costs me money. I'm not benefiting financially. My family's not benefiting because of this project, so I just wanted to make that clear before we, any motion on voting on the matter. Thank you.
Might want to resign then or quit volunteering if it costs you money.
Talk to my husband.
If you will, I'd like to show a quick video to remind people that haven't seen this in a while or haven't seen it at all, the conceptual design of the Veterans Memorial Plaza at Sparks Marina Park.
Mountains etched in time, it's a truth that touches deep within my soul, and it echoes through the ages, and it echoes throughout life. It's a sound of freedom's light, let freedom ring. And all the sons and all the fathers, and the mothers and sisters too, who have paid the greatest price for you and me to live as we do. They will not be e'er forgotten, they will not have died in vain. They will live within our hearts, 'cause freedom reigns. Let freedom ring, let freedom ring, let freedom ring to every breath I have within me. Let freedom ring, let freedom ring, let freedom ring through every corner of the world. Freedom knows that we are different in our colors and beliefs, yet it shines the same for each and every one. It's a gift we know is precious. It's a gift with everything. May it live forevermore. Let freedom ring. So just stop and take a moment. See your children as they play, and the many things we take for granted each and every day. And in the evening when you close your eyes, knowing your family's safe, say an extra little prayer, 'cause freedom rings. Let freedom ring. Let freedom ring. Let freedom ring through every breath I have within me. Let freedom ring. Let freedom ring. Let freedom ring through every corner of the world. And every voice shall rise and sing as one throughout the nations. And in freedom's light, celebrate with shouts of joy. Let freedom ring, let freedom ring, let freedom ring to every breath I have within me. Let freedom ring, let freedom ring, let freedom ring to every corner of the world. Let freedom ring to every corner of the world. Let freedom ring, let freedom ring, let freedom ring.
Very nice, Tracy, very nice.
Thank you.
Questions, Mr. Adams?
I just want to point out that pursuant to Nevada's law on ethics, Councilwoman Bybee did in fact contact her attorney on this matter of potential conflict or potential, reason not to vote for this. This office found absolutely no conflict of interest whatsoever due to her voluntary serving on the board. One other thing, in that seeing that two council members have recused themselves under Nevada law, the ethics laws, the quorum has been reduced accordingly. So in this particular instance, you would only need 2 votes for this particular lease to be accepted.
Okay, any other questions, Mr. Lawson?
Well, first thing, it's a great location. Second, the symbolism that's all over the plaza is really cool. I can't wait to see it done.
Yeah.
But I'm ready to make a motion if there's
Please,
no other
go ahead.
questions. So I move to approve the proposed lease agreement between the Nevada Veterans Memorial Plaza and the city of Sparks, which will generate revenue of $23,000 over a period of 20 years.
Mr. Abbott?
I'll second that.
A motion by Mr. Lawson, seconded by Mr. Abbott to approve 9.7 as outlined by staff. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously
Thank you.
with 2 abstentions. Thanks, Tracy. Okay, 9.8, consideration, 9.8 is consideration, discussion, and possible action on a tentative map request for a 459 lot, single-family subdivision on a site 118.45 acres in a size in the Nude Urban District, Stonebrook Plan Development. Go ahead, Ms. Melby.
Good afternoon, Mayor Martini and Council. I'm Karen Melby. I'm Development Service Manager. Before you today is a request for a tentative map. They are asking for a approval of the tentative map. Outlined here is in cyan is the area for the tentative map. This is in the southeast portion of the Stonebrook Plan Development. Roughly, the Stonebrook Plan Development is this area, with this being a hole in the middle of it, or horseshoe. The subdivision is on a site of 118.5 acres in the Stonebrook Plan Development. The property, the subdivision would be accessed from the Stonebrook Parkway, which is right here, coming off of La Posada. This is the Phase 2 of the Stonebrook Plan Development. And in Phase 1, which is consisted of 617 detached single-family lots, was approved by the City Council in February 2014. To date, 5 of the final maps have been reviewed and has recorded 518 lots.
Yeah. Go ahead. Continue on, Ms. Melby.
Okay.
I didn't mean to upstage you.
That's okay. The applicant is requesting a tentative map which is consistent of 5 villages. The total number of units, as I stated, is 459. The lots range in size from 4,625 to 20,649, with an average lot size of 7,046 square feet. The overall gross density is 3.9 units. This shows the phasing of the plan. You can see that the 5 villages. In reviewing the findings, the first finding is conformance with the master plan and the zoning ordinance. The land uses for the Stonebrook Plan Development Handbook are adopted as part of the comprehensive plan. The proposed densities are consistent with the comprehensive plan. Supporting goals H2 and H3 of our comprehensive plan, the proposed tentative map includes a mix of lot sizes. The Stonebrook Plan Development is approved as a community that is a mix of housing types near businesses complying with the goal H3. As shown on the tentative map, the street cross-section shows sidewalks complying with policy C4. The infrastructure and utilities are currently located to the northeast of the requested property, and requested densities are in accordance, have been accounted in our adopted sewer model, complying with policy CF1. The proposed tentative map has varied lot sizes and house designs that will be reviewed with the final map, which conforms with policy CC8. Addressing finding T2, which is the conformance with our city's master plan of streets and highways. The tentative map incorporates the street design as shown in the Stonebrook Plan Development. And as I stated earlier, this will require the extension of the Stonebrook Parkway to the property. Addressing finding T3, environmental and health laws and regulations. The application was distributed to the reviewing agencies, and the developer will have to comply with all the requirements of those reviewing agencies with their final map. Finding T4, which is the availability of water. The developer has estimated the water demand for this subdivision is 177.76 acre feet. The water rights will need to be served. To serve the subdivision will have to be dedicated with the final map, or each final map. Addressing finding T5, the availability and accessibility of utilities. The developer has estimated sewer flows to be 160,650 gallons per day. The developer will be required to provide that there is adequate sewer capacity to serve this project prior to the recordation of any final map. Also, stormwater and storm drainage will be reviewed and approved by the city engineer prior to the recordation of any final map. Addressing finding T6, availability and the accessibility of public services. Washoe County School District estimates a tentative map will generate 167 students. The police will be provided by the Sparks Police Department. With the development of the subdivision, Stonebrook Parkway will be extended to the south into phase 2 of this area. The project will contribute to the Regional Road Impact Program, fee program. Fire and emergency access will be provided by the fire department, Sparks Fire Department. Phase 2 is located outside of our 6-minute response time for the Sparks Fire Department. However, the city does have an agreement with the Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District for automatic aid. As designed, the Stonebrook Parkway in Village F, which is this village here, and also Misty Springs Drive, which is down here, terminate at the property line. So this fire department has required as a condition number 21 that there will be a turnaround area until these roads will be continued into the Andelin property. Addressing finding T7, the effort on proposed subdivision on the existing public streets and new streets. It's anticipated that the project will generate approximately 4,400 average daily trips with a PM peak hour of 459. The traffic impacts from phase 2 has been considered with the review and approval of the final plan development for Stonebrook. This tentative map does not change the proposed traffic patterns or the estimated generated ADGs in the traffic analysis. Addressing finding T8, which is the physical characteristics of the land. For the floodplain, the FEMA, or Federal Emergency Management Act, approved a letter for map revisions in 2011, which is limiting the flood area, Zone A, to be defined for Reach 4. It's better illustrated in this landscape plan. Pertaining to the slope, the site is relatively flat and therefore does not meet the threshold requiring a slope analysis per Sparks Municipal Code Title 20. A final geotechnical report will be required prior to the issuance of a building permit, which is condition 9. Addressing finding T9, recommendations and comments from the reviewing agencies. The reviewing comments have been attached to the staff report. We received comments from the Washoe County School District and Washoe County Health District. Addressing finding T10, availability and accessibility of fire protection. This was previously discussed under finding T6. The finding 11, which is the identified impacts, the staff report identifies trails, parks, open space, landscaping, and architectural as topics. First, addressing parks. The proposed park site shown on the tentative map, which is dark green area right here, is not suitable for a community park, and meeting with Parks and Rec Department has asked to work with the developer to establish the best location for a community park within Stonebrook. That is a condition 18. Addressing regional trails, condition 14 requires that the missing section of the regional trail be completed with the associated final map. There is a segment of the regional trail that is not completed along the eastern boundary. That's condition 14, as I stated. Condition 15 addresses providing access on the southern portion of the project. Down here is the Parks Department had some concerns that the regional trail is on the other side of the drainage area, and they were concerned with people crossing the drainage area. So condition 15 addresses this, that they will have to work out it with the Parks Department and access to the regional trail on the south side of this property. Open space within each village, open space is provided. The reach drainage channel, regional trail, and along the eastern boundary. So this area here is all open space, and this section along here is all open space. Will serve as the open space for the tentative map. That proposed area is 19.63 acres. Landscaping, the Stonebrook Handbook provides the standards for landscaping for the entrances to each village, the fencing and lighting requirements. With each final map, these items will be addressed and reviewed. That is condition 12. Architecture is addressed under condition 8 and requires that the home elevations will be reviewed and approved prior to the recordation of that final map. The last finding is finding T12, which is a noticing, and the public hearings at the Planning Commission and City Council serve as the hearings for tentative maps. Planning Commission and staff are recommending approval with 21 conditions. The applicants and their representatives are here in the audience if you do have any questions for them. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Karen. Any questions or comments? Ms. Bybee?
Karen, I have one question. On your list of conditions, I did not see, under T6 with the schools, it shows that the Washoe County School District has requested a 10.5 acre site for future elementary school from the Stonebrook community. Does that not fall under our conditions? Is that something separate that the Washoe County School District does, or is it contingent on us approving it today that land is given for a school site in the future?
We have met with the school district, and we're working with the school district on, and also the developer on the property to address that issue. And we felt that it was not related to the tentative map being reviewed today.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, questions or comments? Mr. Dare?
I'm ready to make a motion if we're ready.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
I move to approve the tentative map associated with PCN 18007 for a 459 lot single family subdivision on a site of 118.45 acres in size of the NUD, New Urban District Stonebrook Plan Development Zoning District located south of La Posada Drive, north of the Pioneer Meadows Plan Development, and west of the Wingfield Springs Plan Development. Sparks, Nevada, adopting findings T1 through T12 and the facts supporting these findings as set forth in the staff report and subject to the conditions of approval 1 through 21 listed in the staff report.
Okay, we have a motion. Looking for a second. Ms. Bybee?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Thank you, Karen. Okay, we'll move on to 9.9. Now, that is a meeting. Are we going to move that to the end, Mr. Manager?
Yes,
After-
just
after
advising
adjournment?
that at the end, we will be going to a closed door session. There will be no action being taken by the council.
Okay.
And we will not need to return for anything related to that meeting.
Okay, we'll move on to the public hearing items. Number 10.1, public hearing consideration of possible approval of the program year 4, fiscal year 2018-19 Community Development Block Grant. George, welcome.
Good afternoon,
Good afternoon.
Mayor Pro Tem, City Council, George Graham, Housing Specialist for the record. Today, I will be presenting staff's recommendation for City Council's consideration and approval of the annual action plan for program year 4, fiscal year 2018-2019. The city of Sparks is an entitlement city receiving funding allocation for community development block grant funds from HUD for submission of the annual action plan, which is in accordance with the consolidated, 5-year consolidated plan, which is 2015-2019. The annual action plan activities incorporate contribution for the Community Assistance Center, Homeless Center, the continuum of care activities to strategies to end homelessness, implementation of fair housing activities in the Sparks community, implementation of capital improvement project for pedestrian improvements, gutters, and street improvement in a low moderate income area, which is the area we've been up in over the 5-year consolidated plan. Also, the housing rehabilitation activities and the emergency repair grant program will all be incorporated into this annual action plan. In addition, the annual action plan includes the home partnership funding, which there's no specific funding this particular year, but as part of the Washoe County Home Consortium, there's specific funding that goes to support the affordable housing developments. And currently this year, the Alpine Haven that's still in construction is expected to be completed the fall of this year. And that's comprehensively is an overview of all what the annual action plan entails. And I'm prepared now to respond to any questions or if there's anything.
Questions or comments from the council? Mr. Dare.
I do have one quick question. I'm just trying to, looking at some of the different spending. What do we spend on the pedestrian improvement activities? It's just pretty high. What does that include in all of that?
What's included, the 377,000
Yeah, that seems
is
to be-
new funding.
Just new funding?
That's new funding through this particular grant year. And additionally, you will see some funds that are reprogrammed, $49,000 is reprogrammed from previous years to bring it to approximately 426,000
When we say.
towards.
But when we say pedestrian improvements, I just want to know, what does that mean?
Oh,
I'm
pedestrian
sorry.
improvements, sidewalks, curbs and gutters, street paving, handicap access for new sidewalks. Again, in a approved low to moderate income census tract. And so that's the area we've been concentrating in over the past 5 years. And that's what we'll be addressing.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Dare, Jim Rundle, Planning Manager for the record. These improvements are what you see in Councilman Abbott's ward. They're around here. They repave the curb and gutter. They come through the transportation managers, a request to spend those funds. We've seen some on the H Street area across north of Prater. But they're pedestrian enhancements, curb and gutter, new curb cuts for areas, and those are the funds that come out of CDBG.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Mr. Abbott?
I was just gonna make a motion.
Not yet, it's public hearing.
Oh.
Okay, so,
You guys got me.
any other comments?
Oh, man.
We jumped on you, didn't
I screwed up one time.
That's the only thing you've done all day, just one phone.
I was just.
Okay, I'm gonna open up to the public. Anybody in the audience wishing to speak at this time? I've got you down for public comment. Did you want to speak on this one also? Come on down, and then give us your name, sir. Sit right next there to George. You can stay there, George. He's got another microphone there.
Okay, a lot of interesting conversation and proposals here this afternoon. Hello, everyone.
Could you give us your name, please?
George Kelly.
Okay.
I just want to back up and give you a little history, okay? Just a concerned citizen. Many years ago, I got a hold of the city manager and brought to his attention that across from the Nugget in front of the Buffalo Bar, the gazebo there had no retaining around it. And so he got right on it and he put up ornamental and some ornamental benches, which provided more seatings for our events. And so my concern was people in snow drifts, they step right off into the gazebo because there was nothing up there. So I like doing things like that when I see them. They need attention. So years ago at the marina, I noticed that all the flagpoles were the same height, and I brought it to the security's attention. I said, the American flag belongs on a flagpole much higher than these others. So they addressed it, but they addressed it by lowering the other flags to half staff.
Okay.
And so,
George, that's what you wanted to talk about in public comment. Right now, we're talking about the CDBG grants. So public comment is coming up. Is that what you, that's what you want to talk about?
I'm sorry. So I called. and I
I'll
was
let you
supposed to be
finish,
at
but then you want
at a
to
parks
speak
meeting
later.
this afternoon, and that's what I thought this was. And
Okay, you can go ahead and finish. I just want to point out that
Okay,
you asked to
so-
speak on 12.1.
the flags there right now in that traffic circle are kind of unpleasant, and they're forlorn flags, and I think at this time, it's about time to address the main pole with the American flag, because the POW flag's flying at the same height as all the rest of the flags, and all you'd have to do is just extend that pole up, and it would represent this city as somebody that cares about the flags rather than draping them at half staff like that. It's not very pleasant looking.
Okay,
That's
thanks,
all I
George.
have
And
to
then
say.
Tracy, could you get back to him on that? Absolutely, George. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
I'll be happy to look into that afterwards, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're moving on here. Anybody else in the audience wish to speak at this time? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the council. Mr. Abbott, you had something to say.
Try this again. I move to approve the program year 4, fiscal year 2018-19 Community Development Block Grant and Home Consortium Annual Action Plan for the submittal to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development.
Mr. Dare.
Move to, second? Almost moved to approve again. Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Killing me. Thanks, George. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to 11.1, public and zoning public hearings. Public hearing, consideration and possible action on a request to amend a final development handbook for Kylie Ranch North Phase 7, a site approximately 68.7 acres in size in the NUD zoning district, generally located east of Kylie Parkway, north of Windmill Farms Parkway, and south of Lazy 5 Parkway. Karen Melby again. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. I'm Karen Melby, Development Service Manager. Before you today is an amendment to the final plan and development handbook for the Kylie Ranch North Phase 7. It's outlined here in blue is Phase 7. It's on a site that's 68.7 acres. It is zoned NUD, New Urban District, for the Kylie Ranch Plan Development. this is Pyramid Highway out here, here's Lazy 5, future extension to this property, and then this is Kylie Parkway coming to the north. On December 7th, 2017, the Planning Commission reviewed the final draft of the Kylie Ranch North Phase 7 final handbook and recommended that the City Council approve the final handbook as it was in conformance with the tentative handbook. The City Council approved the final handbook on January 8th, 2018. The final handbook was then recorded on January 31st, 2018. Prior to the review prior to the review by the Planning Commission of the handbook, staff had asked the applicant to amend Figure 2-3, Phase 7 Circulation Plan, which is page 2-9 of the handbook. We asked that they include this blue line here indicating that with the development of Phase 7, that they would have to improve this street from the existing terminus to the eastern boundary line, which would then connect to Wingfield Hills Drive, I think it's a drive, I'm not sure. This will, as a side note, once the connection is made, they will not be called Lazy 5, it'll be changed to Wingfield Springs Road. We asked that this be in the handbook, and when staff was recording the handbook, pulling the documents together to record, we noticed that the handbook that was published on the website for the Planning Commission and also for the City Council hearings, we inadvertently did not put the corrected page in the handbook and was recorded without this blue line on it. So we are before you today asking that you approve the handbook with this correction. There are 10 findings that I need to go through, so let me start. Finding A is that it's consistent with the comp plan and the Truckee Meadows Regional Plan. This amendment does comply with goals MG6, Goal H, Policy CF1, and Policy RC22, because Phase 7 includes a variety of residential development densities, incorporates amenities such as trails, and is included in the sewer modeling and traffic studies, which is not expected to exceed the build-out design for the area, and includes the preservation of open space in the existing drainage along the eastern property. Addressing finding B, consistent with the surrounding land uses, the proposed amendment to the handbook does not change the approved land uses, the development standards, or planned street network. To the north, south, and west of these lands is part of the Kylie Ranch plan development, so all of this area around is all part of the plan development. To the east here is Pioneer Meadows plan development. The construction of Lazy 5 Parkway will provide an east-west connection. Addressing finding C, which is fiscally positive to the city. A fiscal analysis was not submitted as part of this part amendment. This isn't a correction to an exhibit and would not have any fiscal impacts on the city. Addressing finding D, furnish mutual interests of residents and owners. This amendment is a correction to an exhibit in the plan development handbook, which with the completion of Lazy 5 Parkway will be a benefit for vehicular circulation in northern Sparks. Addressing finding E, which is will not impair the reasonable reliance of the residents. The proposed amendment to the handbook does not change the approved land uses, the development standards, or planned development street network, and there are no residents that currently live in Phase 7. Addressing finding F, which is will not result in changes that would adversely affect the public interest. This correction to the exhibit will benefit the public by clarifying that a needed east-west road connecting Vista Boulevard to Pyramid Highway is required when the Kylie Ranch North Development Phase 7 is developed. Addressing finding G, which is consistent with the efficient development and preservation of the entire plan development. This correction to the exhibit is consistent with the efficient development and preservation of the entire Kylie Ranch North plan development by clarifying that a needed east-west roadway connecting Vista Boulevard to Pyramid Highway is required when Phase 7 is developed. Addressing finding H, which is, does not adversely affect enjoyment of abutting lands or across the street. Again, this is a correction to a figure within a plan development handbook and does not change any land uses and will provide a needed east-west roadway connection. Addressing finding I, which is not grant solely or to confer private benefit. The property is a single property owner at this time. However, the figure clarifies that the completion of an east-west connection will benefit other residents within the Spanish Springs Valley. Last finding, J, which is public notice. This was published in the Reno Gazette Journal for the Planning Commission hearing on March 22nd, 2018. We mailed out 532 property owner notices within 750 feet of the planned development. Planning Commission reviewed this on April 5th and recommends approval. That concludes my presentation.
Okay, any questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, I'll open up to the public. Anybody in the audience wishing to speak at this time? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the council for action. Mr. Dare.
I'll go ahead and make a motion. I move to approve an amendment to the final development handbook for Kylie Ranch North Phase 7 associated with PCN 170051 for a site approximately 68.7 acres in size in the NUD New Urban District, Kylie Ranch North zoning district generally located east of Kylie Parkway, north of Windmill Farms Parkway, and south of Lazy 5 Parkway, Sparks, Nevada, based on the information and findings set forth in this staff report.
Okay, we have a motion. Looking for a second. Ms. Bybee?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Thanks, Karen. Okay, we'll move on. I'll open up the public comment. Anybody in the public wishing to speak at this time? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the council for comments.
Oh, Bill.
Oh, Bill, come on
sliding
over.
over in the corner.
If I'd have seen you over there, I knew you wanted to talk.
I know. My name is Bill Wagner, and I want to say hello to the city council people. I'm looking at 9.4 that you folks agreed with. My question is, how many zoning districts have you approved for the winery?
We haven't yet. For the winery, is that what you said?
Yeah, from 9.4.
Staff is looking at that right now, Bill.
Okay, I just was checking on it. And the other thing is that gentleman is correct about the flags, if it's true. US flag should be ahead of everybody.
Right.
Okay, on Vista and North Los Altos, there's 3 power poles. I think we've all seen them before, right? I think the American flag
It's equal to, yes.
is equal to.
Yeah,
Can we
seen
do
that.
anything about those things?
I don't know, Mr. Manager. I know those are cell towers.
They're private property, they're cell towers. We can take a look at it and see there are protocols that allow the flags to be at the same height, but it determines the order that they would be in. So I'll have somebody look at it and contact the property owners.
Okay,
Okay, we'll look at it, Bill.
great, thank you.
That
Thank you
it?
very much. That's it.
Okay, anybody else wishing to speak? Okay, I'll bring it back to the council for comments. Mr. Dare?
I just want to say that we're very excited about the Nevada Veterans Memorial, and this is an exciting day, and thank you Parks and Rec, and thank you for all that's going on. We do have a golf tournament coming up this weekend, if anybody's interested in golfing, and exciting stuff. Donald's going to be golfing, so if you want to come out and just watch him entertainment, you can watch Mr. Councilman Abbott come out and golf a little bit.
That is worth the price of admission.
My 4th time.
And he's on my team, so you gotta carry us.
We're having a threesome now.
Mr. Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. I have some announcements. The following committee appointments are available. Civil Service Commission, 2 members for a 3-year term. Parks and Rec Commission, 2 members for a 3-year term. The Technical Review Committee, which is part of the Washoe County Home Consortium, 1 member for a 3-year term. The Enterprise Fund Advisory Committee, 1 member for a 2-year term. This person must be from the residential construction industry. Persons interested in serving on these committees should complete a community service application available from the city clerk's office. You may also apply online at the city's website, www.cityofsparks.us. You click on Government on the webpage, and then under Boards and Commissions, you would click Volunteering for a Sparks Board or Commission. Then you'd fill out the online application and submit. Applications for all of these commissions and committees will be accepted until the close of business on Thursday, May 31st, 2018.
Okay, any other comments? I've got one, Mr. Manager. I'd like to see an agenda item be placed on the next city council meeting, allowing for the discussion and possible approval of a city council resolution placing an advisory question on the November 2018 Sparks general election ballot, asking Sparks voters whether the office of the Sparks City Attorney should continue to be an elected, nonpartisan position within the government of Sparks.
Thank you, sir.
Yep. Any other questions or comments? Without objection, we are adjourned. Thank you.